mad upon you are Jerusalem, since fish Jerusalem. Yeah, Conan. Blessed of the Sabbath. Barakatah Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahushai. Asherah. Nathanawa. Ashabaf. Bashalom. The water. Amen. English translation. Blessed are Yahweh in the name of Yahushai that give to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it. Ta'alim, Ma'ah, Asherayim, Akkad. Psalm 121. Anya, Orayim, Ayinyimya, O, Orayim, Mayan, Yabua'a, Isaiah, Yabua'a, Mayahawa, Shaisha, Shemayim, Warataza, La'a, Yonathan, Lamawat, Wagalia, Yala'a, Yanawam, Shashomarka, Anna, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yaishan, Shashomor, Yasher Allah, Yahweh, Shemaya, Yahweh, Tezalia, Ayel, Yad, Yad, Yaumam, Ashamash, La'a, Arkaya, Rayorat, La'a, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamoya, Mako, Rai, Yashamor, Nafasha, Yahweh, Yashamor, Awolakia, Maita, Wa'ai, Aibulam, Basham, Yahusha, the water, Aman.
Psalms 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Hear, O Israel. Shemai, Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hainawa, Yahweh, Achad, Shemai, Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hainawa, Yahweh, Achad, Shemai, Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hainawa, Yahweh, Achad.
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Yahweh Tapala, Yahweh's prayer. Abiyanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakaka, Taba'a, Ratazawanka, Haya, Aisha, Barataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Latananawa, Lakam, Yawam, Za, Wasalaknawa, Kawafyanawa, Kasalaknawa. I'm sorry. Let me repeat that part again. Wasalaknawa. Kawafnawa. Kasalaknawa. Kawafyanawa. Wala'a. Abiyanawa. Oh. Nasai one. Abo. Awashainawa. Morai. Kaya. Laka, Amalakwa, Wa Allah, Wa Taparat, Laibulam, Aman.
Matthew 6 and 9. After this manner therefore pray, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Aman. Asherah Matazawaf, the Ten Commandments. La'ah, Yahaya, Laka, Alahayim, Al-Qayyim, Al-Punya, La'ah, Taisha, Laka, Poso, Wala'ah, Taibudam, La'ah, Talakaka, Shamwa, Yahawa, Lahaika, Lashua, Zukor, Af, Hayuam, Ashabah, Lakudashwa, Kabad, Abiyaka, Wa Amaka, La'ah, Tuatazat, La'ah, Tana'ah, La'ah, Taganab, La'ah, Daina, Shukur, La'ah, Takamad, Ko, Asherah, La'aika, Aman.
Exodus 20 and 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third or fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold it guiltless I take his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in that is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and holiday. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Aman. Yeshua, please be seated. Barakatayawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Asherah, Natananawa, Pa Yagapan Dwara Aman, La Yahawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Af Yasha Allah. English translation: Bless our Yahweh in the name of Yahushai that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. Yahweh in the name of Yahushai with Israel. I mad upon you, are Jerusalem, stands face Jerusalem. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakata Yahweh,
Haggadah,
Haggadah,
Rakaram,
Rakawan,
Abiyah,
Abiyah,
Manawa'a,
Manawa'a,
Aliwan,
Aliwan,
Malak,
Malak,
Shaw,
Shah,
Shemayim,
Shamayim,
Barataza,
Baratiza,
Wako,
Wakal,
the Bayam,
Tabari,
Kayayum,
Kayayim,
Wagum,
Wagam,
Amashiach,
Amashiach,
Mayahawa,
Mayahawa, Wanawa,
Habnawa,
Habna,
Kapala,
Apala,
Ya'itaza,
Yaratiza,
Yahushai,
Yahusha,
Zakarnawa,
Zakarnawa,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Watazawan,
Ratazawan,
Aimka,
Anka,
Yasha'ala,
Yasha'ala,
Izornawa,
Izornawa,
Bana,
Mana,
Wasap,
Wasa,
Yasha'ala,
Yasha'ala,
O,
O,
Nanawa,
Nanau,
Yamyan,
Yamyam,
Aitha,
Aitha,
Kaiwamyam,
Ayawanya,
Akudam,
Wakadam,
Babakushai,
Babusha,
Shalat,
Shalak,
Maika'ala,
Maga'ala,
Watazawadak,
Watazwadak,
Alahayam,
Alahayim,
La,
La,
Magunnawa,
Ganawa,
Wapunnawa,
Rapanawa,
Rashimor,
Rashimor,
Alnawa,
Alnawa,
Baikor,
Baikor,
Shalat,
Shalak,
Awoka,
Aroka,
Shaw,
Shah,
Yahushai,
Yahusha,
Lanawa,
Nanau,
Lalamudnawa,
Lawanau,
Rabiam,
Rabian,
Dakama,
Takama,
Tabawana,
Tabawana,
Wada Aif,
with the ice,
Shaw,
Shah,
the Barka,
Naborka,
Bahasham,
Basham,
Yahushai,
Yahusha,
the Wada,
the water,
Damyad,
Tamyat,
Iwalam,
Wagulam,
Aman.
Amen.
English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth, and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yah, our favorite be your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel. Most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael in the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahushai to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahushai, thank you, always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives to us the law. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakata Yahweh,
Ba'ashem Yahushai,
Bashim Yahusha,
Asherah,
Ashura,
Atananawa,
Nathanael,
Athorat.
Adorah.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives to us the light to see. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakata Yahweh,
Ba'ashem Yahushai,
Bashim Yahusha,
Asherah,
Ashura,
Atananawa,
Nathanael,
Awar,
Aro,
La'arat.
Ara.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives to us the ram song to call the people. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakata Yahweh,
Ba'ashem Yahushai,
Bashim Yahusha,
Asherah,
Ashura,
Atananawa,
Nathanael,
Koran,
Koran,
A'ayon,
Awyam,
La'korah,
Lakora,
A'ain.
A'ayin.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakata Yahweh,
Ba'ashem Yahushai,
Bashim Yahusha,
Asherah,
Ashura,
Atananawa,
Nathanael,
Ashaman,
Asherman,
Zayaf,
Gaya,
Namashak,
Namashat,
Yasha'ala.
Ashur.
Yeshabo, please be seated. All right, Shalom Yasharala.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Welcome to Ayasharala Kanas, which means the Congregation of Israel, where we teach that the so-called Negroes and Hispanics, those who came here on cargo slave ships, and those scattered in the North America throughout what they call the West Indies, they are the real Jews that the Bible speaks of. Today we are not in our prominence because we broke the laws that are found in the book of Deuteronomy. As a result, we are in a lower state among the nations of the earth. Today is the Lord's Sabbath day. One of the commandments is to keep the Sabbath day holy. And in that day, we come in, we read scriptures, we break down the scriptures, get the understanding, and also send praise to Yahweh, our power, in the name of Yahushua, who the world is known by Jesus Christ. So today's Sabbath service, we will be reading in the book of First Maccabees, the 4th chapter. In that chapter is going to speak about, we're going to learn about wars and also how our nation were defended by Judas Maccabees. So in previous chapters, we learned about what happened. So before we begin, we'd like to start with a recap before we move on to the chapter that we're going to read today, which is chapter 4. All right. So this took place in a small town called Modin. What we're gonna read in 4th Maccabees is gonna allude to what happened before. And the town which is a village called Modin, that's where the story took place. So it took place with a priest named Mattathias. So Mattathias had 5 sons: John, Simon, Judas, Eleazar, and Jonathan. So now this family, Mattathias himself was zealous of the Most High's law. And we're gonna see as we read in Maccabees, the place that Mattathias took, as we read in previous chapters. So around the time of Antiochus Epiphanes in 167 BC, around, we had Mattathias as a leader, and Antiochus was a leader in the Seleucid dynasty. So he was okay with us keeping the law up to the point where conflict erupted and we were unable, or we were prevented from keeping the Most High's law and offer sacrifices to our power, which was the Most High. So Mattathias, as the leader, was commanded as officer to be the first one. Soldiers or officers was sent by the other king, right, to sacrifice unto other gods. So Mattathias, being a righteous leader, a righteous priest, he refused with a powerful speech. So when he refused with the powerful speech that he gave to worship idol, and keep in mind, the way this happened, you go after the leader first. if the leader falls, meaning everybody else will follow him or will take heed to his advice as a leader, they would turn around and do as he did. So he did not break the law. Instead, he refused. But one of our people, for perhaps for a reason of fear for anything, such as being in the other um, government of the heathen, for political gain or for economic reasons, or even for fear of the people being killed. So whatever the fear was, it was not properly managed, and it was wicked because he came in and volunteered to offer sacrifice in place of Mattathias. And Mattathias was upset, so upset that he went in and killed the Jew, the officers that came to make the request for him to worship idols. So when that happened, they knew that for every action there's a reaction. So him and a group of other Israelites, they flee to the mountains, right, to hide for fear of persecution, knowing that retaliation will happen. All right. So now this is a brief synopsis of what happened that got us to chapter 4. Okay. After Mattathias died, he appointed Judas to be the general of the Jew or the Israelite army, right, to keep the momentum going and to defend the people, right, against the enemy. But every time we went out to fight, we used to always be outnumbered, right? We used to always be outnumbered, and we win those fight against all odds. Fight that we thought that we wouldn't be able to win, we were able to conquer the enemy, right? Because we weren't fighting with just our power, but we were fighting with the might and the help of the Most High by the hand of his angels. All right. So that's where we are now in chapter 4. All right. Let me make sure that we're still running. All right. So Mattathias died around 166 BC, just as the revolt was taking momentum, and leaving his son Judas in charge of the rebel forces that were fighting against the enemy. Kahan Yaukana.
Yes, when you read Zechariah 4 and 6.
Zechariah 4 and 6.
Yes, it says, Then he answered and spake unto me, saying, This is the word of the Lord unto Zerubbabel, saying, Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, said the Lord of hosts.
Right. So that's how we fought. We fought with the might of the Most High. Even though we were greatly outnumbered, Judas and his ally, or in his the other people in the army, they were able to defeat many generals in battles. And the odds, they weren't just, little odds, they were overwhelming odds against the enemy that we fought against. All right, so now in chapter 4 now, it says, Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the horsemen, and we moved out of the camp by night. So now, who was Gorgias? Gorgias was one of the general under Lysias. Right? He was one of the general under Lysias. It was Gorgias and Nicanor. And it was a very, very powerful army that was going to come against Judas. So now, as they getting ready to attack, they dispatch this vast army, right, to go and take on Judas. So now, every time we win, Antiochus and his generals and his counselors, they start to realize that this is not a small thing. This is serious matter here. And our people stand ready to defend themselves. So they see the scope of the fight was not as small as they thought it were. So they got together and rally up their army with Lysias as commander-in-chief, right, to come against Judas. So now in verse 2 it says, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. So now they wanted to come in and ransack the Jews without any chance to defend themselves. So in order for them to do that, they would have to take the army that is so huge, being that we will be outnumbered. In their mind, they thought that they would be able to take us over and put us into captivity, as in other instances. Verse 3. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army which was at Emers. So now when he found out that information, he used his strategy to remove himself so that he can have an advantage of at least defending himself, or if by any chance win, since they have been winning all along. While as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp, in the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judah. And when he found no name there, he sought them in the mountains, for said he, these fellows flee from us. So now when he went to see if he can get to Judah, he went to the camp. So when he got to the camp, he found Judas not there, and the rest of the army are not there. So in his mind, he thought that Judas fled, right? He thought that Judah fled from him. So that gave him some reassurance in his mind, but not taking into consideration when you're fighting against someone, don't take any of his don't take anything for granted, because the same way you are putting in strategy, The other person also is putting his strategy, because the idea is one, we both out to win or to defeat, to for to win and to defeat the adversary. So they left, and Gorgeous did not find them at the camp where they thought they were. So now in verse 5, in verse 6, but as soon as it was day, Judas shewed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor sword to their minds. So when he said neither armor nor sword to their mind, they, and in terms of having weaponry and being equipped, they weren't as equipped as the other army, right? When it comes to military equipment, for a fierce fight, right? They weren't very much ready or equipped or to fight the other army, given that they had so many men, and also they put much resources behind what they are after, which is victory. So they thought in their mind to have as much weapon as possible, but contrary to our people, we did not have much, to fight with. We had, but as far as when comparing to the enemy, we did not have as much weapon as they did. So now in 7, it's, and they saw the camp. They saw the camp. They saw the camp of the enemy. Oh, the camp of the heathen. That it was strong and well harnessed. Right? So this is what we're talking about here. They were strong and well harnessed. So pretty much they had what you would consider weapon to fight, a battle that's worth fighting. So they have everything at their disposal in comparison to us. All right, so that was verse 7. So they saw the Gentile strong and fortified. The cavalry, right, all around it. And these men, they were trained in war, because at that point Judas had won a reputation of a great warrior. So now you can imagine you have a group of your army men with their little weapon, not as sophisticated as the other army, and in the human flesh, there's some doubt and fear that can emerge in the mind of those soldiers. When you look at how strong the army looks, because appearance can be deceived, as the scripture says, look not into appearance, right? Judge righteous judgment. But appearance sometimes can be deceiving. Kahanabia. Kan. John 7:24 is the scripture. John 7:24. And also,
yes, when I read Judges 1:19. And the Lord was with Judah, and he drave out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron.
Fine.
Yeah, they had, but then most of the chariots were like wood, but these men had chariots of iron, so you couldn't drive them out.
Right. Because they have chariots. So now he's gonna take some other forces here to come to our rescue. So that's where we face a dilemma, an event that even if you're the best military strategist, you would have to think fast on your feet. Right? Think fast so that you can come up with a defense strategy. Right? So now at this point, it's not so much about winning, it's about try to save your life. How you would be able to come out of this alive? So that's the thing in that may possibly be in the mind of the soldiers. So now you have a general. Now everything now depends on the leader. What he says, every word that he ordered would be comforting, in the sight of what the soldiers are seeing right now. So now what did Judas feel at that point? Kahan.
Yeah, I was going to say one more thing, right? 1 Samuel 7:17-33.
And which one you liking that with 7?
It's the same thing about their armies and stuff, right?
1 Samuel.
1 Samuel 17:33. And Saul said to David, "Not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he from his youth." So actually, you gotta think about a different strategy.
Right.
Working with the Most High to fight against an enemy that is stronger than you.
Right. Because that enemy had experience going up, so he has been a fighter. He gained much experience over the years. He's not, just a newcomer, right? So he has learned so much from fighting. So against an enemy such as him, you would need, like you said, a new strategy. So what are you gonna come up with?
He's Goliath,
Right. So what you're working with now? It's time to show what you're working with. Now let's see Judas being a general. Let's see what his word were, to the people. All right, verse 8. Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude. First, they were great in number. As great as they are in number, it's Judas perceived that can be a deterrent to his army. Just the number itself, the multitude. So he warned them, or he comfort them. He says, "Do not fear their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault." Assault. So which mean their assault weapons. So we heard that that word, you know, even in today's time, so and so, some assault weapons with them, right? So Judas instruct them to not fear their multitude. But now, saying it to them, even though they trust in Judas being a good general, yet, but when you face the dilemma, you're in front of the event. That's a totally different story. There's only so much you can do. Seeing such a large multitude, including what they have, right? Including the weapon that they have. So now, in verse 9 now, it says, now he's going to give them some information to bring to their remembrance certain things that happen, certain events that happen that would at least curb their fear or their concerns of how the army appeared before them. So in verse 9, Judas trying to help them, and he told them, remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea. Right? It says, remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea. So this was when we came out of Egypt. Right? Right now, at this point, you have to come up with something that has substance. Imagine you are 10 people and you see 1,000 people in front of you. Right? You have 1,000 army individuals who are fierce in front of you, and you are only 10. The general is 11. So what are you going to tell the people that's going to convince them they have a chance? Not a chance to win, but a chance to at least defend themselves or come out alive. So now he brought their attention back to what happened in the Red Sea. Something that seemed impossible at the time, but it was possible. And how did that happen except the Most High were with them? So that's the idea he tried to bring back to their remembrance, right? So that they can have some comfort going into this war that they're gonna. So now so that was one. In verse 10, he told them, now therefore, let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. So now in verse 10, he went further, right, to tell them to cry or to pray to the Most High, right, to see whether he will favor us. Remember the covenant that he had with us. So remember, the Most High is not a breaker of covenants, right? He's a keeper of his covenants. But at that point, about our lives, and it's what's at stake. It's like, come out what you're seeing, what they are seeing in front of them. And as a general, you cannot show that you have fear while you're in the midst of your soldiers, right? Whatever you're gonna say must have relevance. If it's irrelevant, that can even be a defeat, to your own soldiers, if you're not careful about what you're gonna say. So therefore, he had to go he had to go back in history, recollect some information, right, on events that had happened. So in which he mentioned coming out of the Red Sea, and also he urged them to pray so that the Most High, in remembrance of his covenant, that we may be coming out alive. Yeah, so we in First Maccabees chapter 4, and right now we at verse 10. Right, we at verse 10. And what we going into right now is an event that happened in a village called Modin, where Mattathias was the father of 5 sons, and he used to keep the law. And whenever a new kingdom that we have alliance with come, sometimes they let us keep our laws. They let us practice keeping the laws of the Most High, do our sacrifice, up to the point where they don't feel threatened. But if they feel that us keeping the laws of the Most High means that that king is less powerful, then at some point they're gonna intervene and stop us from keeping our laws, because the king wants to feel that he's it. And if anybody gonna be in his kingdom, you have to be subservient to him. So they came in and told Mattathias to worship or offer sacrifice to idols as the leader. He refused, and they went after the leader, because once the leader complied, the rest of the people will comply. So he refused to comply, and then that's where the problem started. Right, the problem started before him, but us facing so much atrocity and persecution came right after he refused to bow down and offer sacrifice to idols. It has after he died around 166 BC, he let his son, who was a valiant man, his name was Judas, he gave him, the baton to carry on the revolt. And that's where we are in chapter 4, where Antiochus had a general, Lysias, and under Lysias, there were 2 other generals, Nicanor and Gorgias. So Gorgias now is the one who was going against Judas now to defeat them, right? Because they did not want to keep the king's commandment. So now they deploy a huge army, because they saw that the scope of how much Judas can fight, they did not take it lightly. At this point right now, they feel if they don't get rid of Judas and his army, it's going to be a huge problem. So now, taking into consideration in the information that they had about Judas, a valiant man, in defeating their army every time they come in, now they are apply a different strategy, their resources together, and gather all the army men, well-trained men, to defeat Israel. And that's where we are right now. We are at verse 10. It says, now therefore let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. So war are fought with mind power first, with information. So they were pretty much not want to lose, right, what they had, or they use the information to their advantage by, reinforce their army. Shalom. All right. All right. So give us a minute as brothers and sisters are getting situated. Those of you following us on the live stream and also on the conference line, give us a minute. Right now we at verse 10 in First Maccabees. All right, so in verse 10 again, in previous fight, Antiochus underestimate the scope of the revolt. They underestimate, our ability to fight and win. So now, at this point, he realized we are not to be played with. So he realized the seriousness of the revolt, the nature of what we're fighting for. Right? The key is you can have have 10,000, 10 people die for what they just fighting for fighting, just for the sake of, I'm a warrior, that's what I do, I fight. So that 10 people can defeat the army of 2,000 just on the scope of they ready to die and they ready to do anything. And this was, the mindset of our people. We know what we were fighting for, and it worth dying. And if it costs anything, our lives, just be it, we will do it. All right, so it goes down to all our values and cultures must be defended. Everything that you have must be defended and be defended all the way to death. It's the same way when you look at those people in the Middle East, when they fight, how can you fight an army with men just strap bombs around their bodies and they go into a place, bomb, ignite the bombs, and they don't care themselves if they die. So this is the same mentality that our people had, except they had that mentality fighting a righteous fight, knowing that keeping the laws of God is our life. That's what it is. And if we don't have that, we don't have life.
That's an excellent example because there's no technology against that.
Right.
I don't care how many drones you got, right?
Right. I was already ready to die. If I die in the process, it's good. I mean, so be it. So it's hard to fight against an army because you want to kill them, but they're already ready to die.
In a situation like that, you have to come up with some kind of way, at least in this democratic society, to justify genocide. Right. So yeah, we had to kill them all and just take the land. But like you said, the best policy is, can we win hearts and minds? Get them on our side, eliminate casualties, and have them buy into our doctrine.
Right.
That's the excellency of warfare.
Right.
When you sit over there, it's difficult. It's like you have your way that you do in the West, we have our way.
Right. So if they're not buying to your doctrine and your way of life, they're ready to die. Your doctrine means nothing to them. And that would even, make you question your doctrine, right? So in verse 10, now we're going into verse 11. That so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivers and saveth Israel. Right? So when we have that mentality and we pray to the Most High, and if the Most High come to our rescue, then the heathen will know that we have a power beyond what they can see that can stand and defend us in situation where there's no way out. Right? So now in verse 12. Then the stranger lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. So now they keep on marching face to face, with them. So now imagine you've heard the stories. You heard how these men, they don't play around. And you have the large army that give you confidence, but yet you see those men, they keep coming. Those people, they must be up to something, or they have something that's in them, right? But that thing that's in them gonna play in the mind of the enemy. So now we're gonna read on. It says, lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Usually it would be the one that felt like he's gonna win, go in, try to get them and destroy them. But they going against them, right? They coming, right? They're not backing down in a defensive mode. Yeah. They playing offensive where they should be playing defensive. Either run and let them chase after them, but that's not what they're doing. So even if you have a large army, the question in your mind, what are they doing? Right? It says, wherefore they went out to the camp to battle, but they that were with Judas sound their trumpet. So now there's a big thing about sounding the trumpet. Right? It's a big thing about sounding the trumpet. So now we're going to take some scriptures about sounding the trumpet, why it is very important. And sometimes not doing the right thing with the trumpet can even cause us to be guilty of crime. So now, let me see. Let's see what scripture we're going to pull out of the scripture. Let's go to Deuteronomy first. Right, let's go to Deuteronomy. Chapter 20. Verse 1 to 4. And Kahan Yao Kanan, when you get it, if you can read it, Babu Kusha, that would be great. So in this chapter, after that, I'm going to go swiftly because we have so many verses.
What chapter was that?
Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 1 to 4.
Go on.
Deuteronomy 20, verse 1. When thou goest out to battle against thine enemies, and seest horses and chariots and a people more than thou, be not afraid of them, for the Lord thy God is with thee, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And it shall be, when ye are come nigh unto the battle, that the priest shall approach and speak unto the people, and shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, ye approach this day unto the battle against your enemies. Let not your heart faint, do not tremble, neither be ye terrified because of them. For the Lord your God is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies to save you.
All right. You go out to fight. That should be the first thing in our mind. Don't be afraid, right? Don't be afraid, because I mean, war is not a pretty thing. It's not. It's not a pretty thing. I mean, we all know that, but to be in the midst of it, being the soldiers. I mean, I have not been a soldier, but if we speak to a soldier, I speak to many soldiers. It's not a pretty thing. You almost have to, block everything out. That's why sometimes when soldiers come back from war, even they survive, some of them, they go crazy. They lose their mind. Even when you come out alive, sometimes you have to go to doctors, go to psychiatrists, so that they can, you know, help you out, because you have seen so much, right? Sometimes you have casualties, people cry, right that in there, their bones and things are gushing out. Is you take me out right now. Because the pain, to deal with all that. So it's not a pretty thing. So to see those men stood to fight, it must be something that they know, that worth dying for. That they go out there and risk their lives, for. Also get Numbers 10 and 9. And Mencha, if you can, Babu Kushai, read that scripture for us. Numbers chapter 10, verse 9.
Okay.
Get fine.
It says, Numbers 10:9. And if ye go to war in your land against the enemies that oppress you, then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpet, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies.
Right? So the trumpet has significance. Blowing the trumpet is not just to blow it for blowing sake. There's significance in blowing the trumpet. It is a sign, and when we blow it, the Most High remembers, and also He remembers that with us. And this is an instrument that is very useful. And that's why when we come to the service, we always use the trumpet, because it's always been an instrument that we use in time of war, in time of peace, in time of peace. We always use the trumpet. Also, the trumpet, we should use it to warn our people. Verse 6.
Ezekiel 33:6. But if the watchman see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hand.
Right. So the watchman's job is to make sure he's there and do his job. Warn the people, blow the trumpet. If they not blow the trumpet, and the people are not, warned, then he is responsible. All right, so
6.
So that's serious business. So that's why in verse 13 here in First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 13 says, "Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, but they that were with Judah sounded their trumpet." So they knew the law, they observed the law. So not only they were going out to fight, they did it keeping the protocol, follow instructions. So we had the book of our instruction book when it comes to fighting. So they knew it and they followed. So now verse 14 it reads, "So they joined battle, and the heathen being fled into the plain." Just imagine that. "Albeit all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gezerah and unto the plains of Idumea and Azotus and Jemnia. So there were slain of them upon a tree, upon them 3,000 men." So many casualties among the heathen. That's unimaginable. Only by the power of the Most High could they have done this. Nothing else. Right? Nothing else. I don't care how much skill you have. Once the multitude of people get to you, I mean they'll get rid of your people quick time. But that didn't happen. The story just flipped. That's something. If it wasn't the Most High, I mean, who else can it be? And that's what they were hoping for, and that's exactly what Judas told them to pray for. So what happened is, as they dropping men down, the people that were in the rear, they said, "Nah, I'm not going into this. I'm gonna be next." Once they done with this line of people, me in the back, I'm gonna be next. Since I'm in the back, they didn't get to me yet. I'm out. So they fled. So now, then they turned back in verse 16. It says, "This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them." So they were pursuing them, as opposed to the enemy with more men, more soldiers pursuing them. Verse 17 now, it says, "And said to the people, Be not greedy of the spoil, inasmuch as there is a battle before us." So this is also another rule of war. Don't get dismayed at the possession firsthand. Make sure that the enemy is contained before you start embellishing yourself with their spoils. Because you had not come to fight for the spoil. You came to fight to keep your culture your livelihood in what you stood for, your law, your principles. But do not let possession, get the best of you and forget what we came for, what we came to fight for. Kahanamiya.
Khan, just want to read this real quick. This will come up throughout the reading today, this idea. But Proverbs 22:1. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 1. Everybody on the phone here? Proverbs 22 and 1. And it reads,
Con.
Proverbs 22 and 1. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. So you're reading, it's not about the spoils, but it's about having a good name and about having loving favor, which Judas and his men certainly have.
Fine. So we're in verse 18 now, right? Verse 18, it says, and Gorgeous and his host are here by us in the mountains, but stand ye now against our enemy and overcome them, and after this ye may boldly take the spoils. Because what happens, once you have the spoil, you take food and everything, your mind is not gonna be in the same, you're not gonna be in the same mindset of fighting anymore. Right now you wanna relax, you wanna lay back. And our people are laid back people, chilling in the tent, And once you eat and you wanna sleep, and it's sleep that they get you. Make sure you get rid of them. Then you enjoy yourself with everything they got. Right? It says, and you can boldly take the spoil because they run about. Because what happened is in the war, you got to crush your enemy completely. Until your enemy is crushed completely, you have not won any fight. Right? You have not won any fight. You got to crush them completely. And the Most High, when he told Moses, right, when we had some issues, and he sent us out, he said, just slay them. Do not leave any of them standing. The Most High knows what he's talking about. Because if you leave just one, it may spring back up again, and they're gonna come revenge. Yeah.
Con, you just read it down, but 1 Kings 22, verses 32 and 33. 1 Kings 22, verses 32 and 33. This is going with Proverbs as well. You could also write down 1 Chronicles chapter 18, verse 31 to 32. Once again, 1 Chronicles chapter 18, verse 31 and 32. I'll read it in Kings. It's just going into how no matter what you have physically going on, if you have the Most High's favor, as you're about to read, King Joseph had, the Most High can make things work in your favor. Even when physically the odds are against you. This is 1 Kings 22 and 32. It says, and it came to pass when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, that they said, surely it is the king of Israel. And they turned aside to fight against him. And Jehoshaphat cried out. You read above, their plot was to go after Ahab in the north, King Ahab. And it came to pass when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Israel, that they turned back from pursuing him. So he was preserved alive, even though they surrounded him. They could have looked at him and said, hey, you know what? He's still an Israelite. Let's get him. But the Most High preserved Jehoshaphat for his righteousness. As you read on, even though King Ahab tried to disguise himself, that judgment, since he didn't have the Most High's favor, was still fine. He was still meet his end. As you read further down.
Verse 19 now. As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain. So the enemy is still watching, right? Yeah, they watching. They looking for the opportunity to ransack them, right? This is about, you're not gonna just go in. You gotta find out the opportune time, right, to attack. And another thing is, when you lose and you try to seek revenge, you're gonna lose more. Sometimes when you lose, it's time to, fall back, re-strategize. As you're losing, you're trying to gain what you lose. You going after the enemy. Now you acting emotionally, but not rationally, with strategy. So the key is to retreat and see what strategy you're gonna use to get the upper hand. So as they fled, they try to strategize and watch Judas to know when to attack him and how to attack him, because they see that he's not just a small general who don't know what he's doing. It says in verse 20, who when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declare what was done. So another strategy used by Judas and his men, they pretty much start to burn the tents. The camp, they start burning. There's a lot of smoke coming out. So the smoke, let them know that something was going on over there. So now, what was their reaction? In verse 21, when therefore they perceived these things, they were so afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight. So now they say, man, we let you. Those guys are very disciplined, right? They know what they're doing, and they knew once they take spoil and lay back and chill, and cheering over their small victory, then they can come and attack them. Sometimes when you have a small victory, it's just put it behind you quick, because that victory that you have, if you keep on dwelling upon it, you're not gonna be on the watch, on a lookout, because now it's time to celebrate. But it wasn't time to celebrate yet, because the enemy was still alive and well and watching. Yep.
Con, this doesn't link with any scripture, but I just wanted to read it for what you said about destroying your enemies completely. This is Psalms chapter 18.
Chapter 18.
The whole thing?
I'm just going to read a couple verses.
18 was 18.
Just 18. The whole chapter is good to read, but one of my favorites. I'm just going to read something specific in there. Psalms chapter 18, verse 37. 37 down to about 42. Psalms chapter 18, verse 37 to 42. This being like a psalm of that he wrote after, he had been successful in many battles. He had time to rest and to write and reflect. Psalms 18:37, it says, I have pursued mine enemies and overtaken them. Neither did I turn again till they were consumed. Verse 38, I have wounded them that they were not able to rise. They are fallen under my feet. 39, but thou hast girt me with strength unto the battle. Thou hast subdued under me those that rose up against me. 40, Thou hast also given me the necks of mine enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me. 41. They cried, but there was none to save them, even unto Yahweh, but he answered them not. 42. Then did I beat them small as the dust before the wind. I did cast them out as the dirt in the streets.
That's 42, right? We start at 42. 37 to 42, right?
Right.
So anyone that stands to fight against enemy in defense of our laws, statutes, and commandments, the Most High is using you as his weapon to defeat all enemies. So long that the fight is to defend our principles, we will win against all odds. So each enemy, it could be 60,000. You can have 60,000 men that are fear. So when you have 60,000 men that are fear, you have a bunch of weak people that you fight. So now they're not relying on each other's strength. The same way you rely on each other's strength, they rely on each other's, fear. So you fear, I fear, so we all fear. But if I'm strong, you strong, you strong, so we relying on each other's strength, then we are strong. But if you fear, you tell me things that make me fear. Did you see them? Yeah, I saw them. Oh man, those guys are not playing. Yeah, they're not playing. So we have a chain reaction of people, behaving the same way. So they all fear. So they're gonna lose. And that's the spirit the Most I put on them, even if they were 100,000 or 200,000. It doesn't matter. Once the fear get into their spirit, it doesn't matter how the numbers. Not yet.
I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the expression esprit de corps. They use that for the army to talk about their spirit, whatever vibe they're in at any given moment.
Right.
And I think they also call it morale. Generals represent command wants to always be mindful of the morale of the troops at any given time. Like you're saying, that could mean a victory or a loss.
Right.
A continual loss.
Fine. So things work both ways. Right? So now, let's read Jeremiah 51 and 20.
Jeremiah 51.
In verse 20. Like they say, united we stand. If we united in the law of the Most High, we will stand. If we not united in the law of the Most High, we will fall. So Israel fall in great numbers. And it happens just the principle. It happens just the way it happened to us. It can happen to anybody. If you're not united in strength, you united in weakness. And we all weak, we all fall. And I'll read this one. It's in Jeremiah 51 and 20. And it reads, Thou art my battle axe and weapon of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. So that's exactly what's happening right now. Right? The Most High was destroying kingdom by using Judas Maccabees as the hammer. He was called the hammer because he nailed those military generals and their army to the ground.
Hammer.
Fine. So that was Jeremiah 51 and 20. And now we go back to First Maccabees chapter 4. And right now we are at verse 22. I'll read 21 again. It says, when therefore they perceived these things, they were so afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight, they fled everyone into the land of strangers. So they fled. So nobody chased them, but they were already in the mindset of the fear, and they fled. So fear is not a good thing. Right? In verse 23 now, it says, then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver, and blue silk, and purple of the sea, and great riches. So now, okay, now the enemy is out of our sight. Now we can get the stuff. Lay back. Yeah, lay back, get their gold, get whatever they came with, because they're out of sight now. Out of sight, out of mind. 24. After this, they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever. So as they in their way back, they singing, rejoicing, thanking the Most High that they still alive, and they caused the enemy to fled, to vacate their presence, and now at least they can continue to observe their law as they once did. Thus said Israel, verse 25, thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. So this was our Thanksgiving. Right? We had many Thanksgiving, and this was one of them. This was freedom from the oppressor.
Right. Celebrate that, right?
Done.
I just want to read this quickly about, being fearful too, because some of our people at times were fearful, because of the enemies and things like that. Even Judges chapter 7, verse 3. So read it quickly. Now therefore go to proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And there returned of the people 20 and 2,000, and there remained 10,000.
So many were afraid, and it's contagious.
Yeah.
You don't want that fear to spread. Otherwise, everybody, we already defeated before we start fighting. If you fear, it's but you best to go home. Just go home and just relax.
Yeah,
it's kind of like we haven't been in one, but the classic bar fight scene. It's just two people at first, and then they start fighting, they bump into someone else, and they start fighting. It's just like the whole bar is just neck and neck with each other.
Right.
It was definitely moving. Definitely a phenomenon when it comes to like crowd group work. The Romans used this to their advantage through the mob. They're the first ones to start the mob. They'll create mass confusion, right? Get one person to start running, and a whole bunch of other folks to start running, and then that's when they look for the person they want to shank them.
Right. Yep. So let's go to verse 26 now. Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened. So remember, Gorgias was a general under Lysias, and he was sent. He was the man in chief. He stayed behind, and he sent Gorgias as as general of the army. So now they got to go and give reports. Whoever survived got to go back and give report of what happened. Right. Right. So now, yeah, the report's gonna be pretty tough because to receive, because you spend so much resources. You have the best men of war go out to fight. So now, what do you have left? You know, what are the strategies? Now it's like you're gonna have to come up with something that is better if that wasn't your last, you know, piece of play that you had. It says now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened. Verse 27. Who, when he heard thereof, was confounded and discouraged. So now, when he was confounded, after he heard this is gonna bring discouragement. I mean, I don't care how tough you are, your kingdom, especially the heathen, they don't have a power like our power, you know, to rely on. Their kingdom depends on the power of men. Men power. They rely on men power in their intelligence, you know, their counsel. So now if he had planned this, and this is, you know, the last result, now you came in and they told you what happened, what's next now? It's either you're gonna get, if you are the general, you're gonna get demoted, somebody else is gonna come in your place to bring other strategies. It's like your job is on the line. So he was discouraged because neither such thing as he would were done unto Israel. So whatever plan he had, it ain't work. Nor such thing as the king committed him will come to pass. So whatever instruction he was given, which is crush Israel by the king, that didn't happen. So now he got to answer to the king now. So the king's gonna be like, you unfit. So I got to find somebody else who's better than you, you know, to put in your position. So all that could be going into his head, right? Possibly going into his head. Verse 28. The next year, therefore, following Lysias, gathered together 70,000 choice men. So now, round two. He got a 70,000 choice men, 60,000, right? Choice men, right? You go ahead and pick those guys, or, you know, send a list of all the people that you know they are the top guys, right? I'm gonna have to come up with something drastic, you know, to get rid of this guy, right?
Psalms 20 and 7. I'm going to read it quickly. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God.
Fine. We got to remember the top general, our top general is not on the scene, right? He already pre-planned the battle. He got the strategy done. We're going to fight. We don't know if we're going to win, but we know if we do what we got to do, we're going to win. And it's a promise. Right? So in verse 28 again, it says, the next year, therefore, following Lysias gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot, right? And 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them.
Yeah, one more. Last one. Exodus 15 and 3. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name.
Fine.
That's 15 or
Exodus 15 and 3. No, 15.
So he mustered 60,000 men on foot. Right? So you handpicked them. 60, what they call it, 60,000 infantry. And 5,000 cavalry. With people on horses. Man. So now, guess how much Judas had? Judas had 10,000. So imagine that. 5 times more people than Judas, plus 5 cavalry. $10,000. So we outnumbers. If it's fun, we done. If we count the numbers, that we done already. We lost before we even begin.
One man fighting 5.
Yep. 1 to 5. 1 to 5, not just 5 choice men. Right, top of the line men.
With the cavalry, horseback, you do a lot more damage.
Right.
Some cats out, cavalry troops. Cavalry comes, it's always the problem. Old style war.
Right.
You gotta have guys with spears just to be able to deal with the horses.
Right.
To get it to down the top.
Right. So now you got the horse you gotta worry about in the men. So if it's 5,000 cavalries, it's like 10,000 because you have 5,000 horses that can kill you to stomp on you. Verse 30. I'm sorry, verse 29. So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethshua, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. Verse 30. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou. So he went back to the same strategy. Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who did quell the violence of the mighty men by the hand of thy servant David, and gave us the host of strangers into the hand of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer. So remember what I read in Jeremiah, that was about David, right? In Jeremiah 51 and 20. So the Most High now about no, I'm confusing with another one. That's not the one about David. I'm gonna find the one about David. All right, so now it's time for war, right?
Just link these with verse 30. 1 Samuel chapter 17. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 50 to 51.
1 Samuel 17, 50 and 51.
Just to get to the point with David against Goliath. And then Jonathan and his armor bearer against the Philistines too, is delivered. 1 Samuel chapter 14, verses 13 to 14.
you said 1 Samuel chapter 14,
17.
Verses 13 to 14. Two groups of verses.
Okay, what was the first 17, 50, and 51?
That's right.
What's the second one?
Verse 13 to 14.
Thank you.
First set deals with David. The second set deals with Jonathan.
The first one, John, or the second?
The second one.
The first one is who?
David against Goliath. And you can also add Romans 15:4, which just says things written before time written for our learning. You see, Judas, he was very astute at doing that, going back into the history, right? Going back into the records to remind the men. Remember how it did for us before.
Amen.
He can do it for us again today.
Amen.
All right, let's go to Psalm 144 and 1. Psalm 144 in verse 1. All right, it says, Psalm 144 and 1, blessed be the Lord my strength, which teacheth mine hands to war, and my fingers to fight. And it proceeds to say in verse 2, my goodness in my fortress, my high tower and my deliverer, my shield, and he in whom I trust, who subdueth my people under me. But the goal of Lysias was to subdue Israel. But we're going to read what happened. Verse 31 now. It says, shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. So the key is to defeat the enemy in his mind, cause him distress and discouragement, and that's how you win before you fight.
So get it in his hand?
Done.
Okay.
Get in his head and cast doubt and make him not have the morale to fight. You break him down. So that's what Judas is praying for the Most High. So all those horsemen and those choice men, it's only one key: get them discouraged, get in their head and mess them up.
What if you run into one and want to break down?
Huh?
What if you run into one and don't want to break down?
The key. I mean, what if you said what if we went to one?
You don't want to break down.
Well, the Most High will find a way to break him down.
Okay. But you just don't want to kill him.
Yeah. The Most High will break him down. Make him think of something that happened. Yeah, make him think that, man, I got my kids at home. I got that money that I spent. Man, if I die now, man, I'm gonna lose all of that. Man, I don't want to fight anymore. You know. Anymore. I had planned, to have this, to have that. So everything that he has gonna break if he's not in the flesh. That's the only way he's not gonna break. If he's not in the flesh, but once you're in the flesh, you have some desires, regardless. Anybody, no matter who you are, you have some desires. It could be small, it could be great, but no matter what the desire is, break you at your desire. And that's how you're gonna get discouraged.
All right.
Whatever the desire is.
This is in Leviticus 26, which is like Deuteronomy 28, where it has the blessings and the cursing. As far as the blessing goes, you see the blessing coming upon Judas and his men. Leviticus 26, I'll read 7 and 8. Leviticus chapter 26 and verse 7, it says, "And ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword." Verse 8, "And 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemies shall fall before you by the sword." So you show the Most High the man of his word. Chapter 26, verse 7 and 8.
Right.
So you were saying earlier, Kahan, as long as we do what we're supposed to do, Most High will take care of that.
Right. Fun. So it's like, what do you think? That's why you have the CIA, you have, the FBI, you have, that goes before a war start. Prior to the war start, they go years before. They send their men to spy, to learn about the people, what they like, what they dislike, their way of life, what they, desire in, what type of political party, economic values, what they share. So once they have that information, they already know how they're gonna attack you and know how they're gonna win.
That's government.
So they come in our community.
Yeah.
They come in our community. They study us. They study us, and they spend money, live in an apartment where we live, pretend like they eat the food that we eat. Just to see, how these people, behave. And the next thing you know, you see our community is going down, and you don't know how. That's it.
Yeah.
They done study your mode, and they break you down, and you don't even know how you got broken down. And after that, y'all come out.
And I was just going to say, it's what we did. Numbers 13.
Right.
We're saying to do the same exact thing.
Right.
We sent out our scouts.
Right.
Only thing is, we didn't trust in the Most High. At least most of the spies, except for 2. So that was our that was our CIA.
Right. Right. We went to the Most High sent us to study them. Instead, we fear. We said, man, those men are giants. That wasn't your job. Your job was to go there and get information and bring it back.
That was your job.
Yeah.
Cool verse. 2 Samuel 23 and 8 and 18. These be the names of the mighty men whom David had. The Monite, chief among the captains, the same was Adino and Esnite. He lifted up his spear against 800, and whom he slew at one time.
So that was 2 Samuel 22 and 8?
Yeah. And verse 18. And Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief among 3, and he lifted up his spear against 300 and slew them, and had the name among 3. Yeah, so he lifted up his spear and 800 at one time.
Yeah. That must have been some thing, high
So it
speed.
ain't bad at all. You say kill me? That's me.
What, 300, 800?
One shot.
One shot.
You must have a laser beam.
Went through everybody.
Yeah. And this is not movies, you know. That was live.
Oh, bro.
That's how they make movies.
Right. Now they make the computer do
You
it.
ever see it? Whatever came up, a man had a little bow and arrow inside his jacket. You open his coat.
Right.
He went through like 70 people came back to him. I'm like, wow. Guardian of the Galaxy. And got the new one just came out. A man had a leather coat on. Open his jacket and it started floating in the air like this. He was sitting, go through everybody's chest, right? With a hard ass.
So the funny thing is, people think
You know,
now,
he probably got in there.
now they got technology and they have the best weapon and you have this technology, that technology. The key is the technology been in existence and the technology always been there. And you just got to tap into the substance of that technology. And it's all from the Most High. Right? Nothing new.
Man, that's something to have right there.
We said one shot to make sure brothers don't think like we just did like this and they all like fell down. That's not what happened here.
Right.
But
He fought him.
it was like one fight. He took on all of them. It's kind of like you got the one guy in the middle. Everyone's trying to come in and he just kills everybody that comes in. With his bodies pounded.
Yeah, nobody with him.
Well, what we can hear, he did this dispatch himself. This man. There probably other men around him that were killing others too. He had to hide his body.
By himself.
Yeah. You said one shot. Brothers are thinking like he just went like this.
No.
They all died. That's not what happened.
It's just fight.
But in the movie, that's how they protect him. If you see it come on TV, it just might kill a lot of people. Over there.
So when you imagine the power of the Most High, nothing that is done is outside of the Most High. It's all come from that substance, that unformed substance that people drawn into. So back then, now, still the same. Everything that we use now stems from the same unformed substance.
And even Alexander the Great, who subdued many nations in front of him. You read in the Maccabees, the first Maccabees, he brought them in his strongholds.
Right.
Well, he went with the 12 tribes of Israel, wasn't he? Esau, okay.
Right.
He had a group of people fighting for him. Send him out there first.
Fine. All right, so let's go back to Maccabees, 4th chapter, verse 33 now. It says, cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Even before them was they slain. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antioch, and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judea. So now, time to get allies. Time to get help. So now we have our mind work one way, but if you go to a different nation or different individual, their mind can contribute to what you already have. So now let's go on the outside and look for allies to help us win the fight. So it says, he went to Antioch and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was. So now strength in numbers. He went with 60,000, right? 60,000 men on foot, 1,000 men on horses. And now he wants to make it greater. He still ain't learned nothing. So if he has 5,000 men slain, he still had 55. So logic will tell him it's not about numbers, But at that point, the Spirit got him where he thinking one way. So now he thinks to win is to reinforce his soldiers and bring, you know, other allies with different mindset, you know, different skills of fight, you know, to win against Judas. So now, in verse 36, then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemy are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. So now they took a recess to go and clean the sanctuary, which is one of the reasons that they wanted to fight also, was because our sanctuary, they were offering sacrifices to idols, and to have the sanctuary cleansed is something that would be pleased to the Most High, and we would use the sanctuary to offer sacrifice. So this was the plan. It says, then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate. Let us go up and cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. So the enemy was crushed, but not crushed completely, because again, unless every single one of them is gone, right, we're still gonna have locomotion going on, opposition going on, you know, against Israel. Now, verse 37. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion. So all the army men of Judah, they got together and they went into Mount Zion. Now let's see what the state of the sanctuary was. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profane, and the gate burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts as a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, in the priest's chambers pulled down. So now everything was let's say you go to the sanctuary on the mountain, all you see bushes, the sanctuary, you got weed going all over it, right? Grass. This thing was just abandoned, right? This thing was abandoned. So now, to see this, which has significant value to us, we're gonna see their reaction when they saw the sight of the sanctuary. Verse 39. Then they rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads. So this will always be a custom of Israel, to cast ashes upon they had and wear sackcloth when they were in distress. Right? So
and where would the ashes come from? Did they burn something?
Real quick, it seemed like he just went to the ground.
I mean, the ashes doesn't always have to be ashes dirt. It could be anything.
Just regular dirt from the ground.
Right. What the key is to show the stress level that they are in. And sackcloth, they would put sackcloth on, because sackcloth is not a beautiful piece of material. Right. Right. It's rough, and yeah. So just to show their discontentment, they lamented the state of the sanctuary.
Kind of, in conjunction with that, was to show also how low they were before the Lord. Right? Like how Job in his description talked about how I'm but earth and ashes, right? What am I? Who am I? Before you, in your great glory. So that was part of that too, as far as they put the ashes and put the dirt on. Right? Wearing the sackcloth is rough, for sure. The discomfort they're going through. It was just a humbling gesture, a gesture of supplication.
Gone. So now in verse 41, verse 40 now, and fell down flat to the ground upon their face, and blew an alarm with the trumpet, and cried towards heaven. Here come the presence of the trumpet again, right? To assemble the people, to bring them into attention. And now, let's see what Judas did. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So now, even in the midst of all of this, you have to remain control. You have to hold control as a general. As a leader and a general, what he did not want to get surprised by the enemy. He still ordered a group of men to still fight while they cleaning the temple, right? So if you devote all your time to cleaning the temple, and at the same time you don't have a contingency plan to fight the enemy, so everything that you're doing cleaning the temple is for nothing. So you might even get killed with the temple that you're cleaning. So instead of just go and clean the temple, he ordered those men to keep fighting while we're cleaning the temple. And then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. 42. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law. And then he appointed the priests, right, who have done the law, understood the law, and practiced it. He ordered them, right, in that position. In verse 43, who cleanse the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stone into an unclean place. So the stone that they had on top of the altar that the heathen used to worship and do sacrifices to idols, he ordered them to clean, make sure everything is in order. In verse 46 and verse 45 now, it says, 44. And when has they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offering, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pull it down. So now, when they consulted with each other what they should do with the altar, they consented that, you know what, we're gonna pull it down because it's already been used for idol. So it's best to pull it down completely because it's defiled. So they pulled it down, and so that it's not like a shame. We're using stuff that the enemy was using, right? So it's not a good look. So they consented that we're gonna pull it down. In verse 46, and laid up the stones in the mountains of the temple in a convenient place until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. So these things, the stones that were there that they would use to worship, instead of just take them and lay them any place, they put it somewhere in storage until a prophet should come and tell them, you know, what's the next step, where they should put the stones. Because you don't want to put it in a place and the people take it and put it in their houses and start worshiping. It's best to put it in an isolated place until the instruction can be given what to do with them, right? Verse 47. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former. So they pretty much did a duplication of what was there before, but they did it with all new materials. And they did it according to their hope. Verse 48. And made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallow the court, and they clean it, and they pray on it, make sure that it was cleansed. Verse 49. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offering and of incense and the table. So they pretty much do a nice cleaning, and also bring in new vessels and everything, fresh. So they made new holy vessels, right? They didn't import them, they made them, right? So we had great skill back then, just as we have skill now. Those skills, they still the same, right? And verse 51 now. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread out the veils and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148 years, they rose up bedtime in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offering which they had made. So early in the morning on the 25th day of the 9th month, which was the month Caslu, in the 148 years, they came in and offering on the new altar that they just made. Pretty much kind of like a grand opening, right? To celebrate the rededication of the temple to the Lord, to the Most High.
That's definitely a way of looking at it. Since in the world, we're so used to cookouts for nonsense. But that's pretty much what the altar burnt offering was, which is the big, giant, holy grill that we use to what? To cook righteous sacrifices for the Most High and also for the priest, which in turn were really for the Most High.
Before.
Now, we don't celebrate that day, do we? What?
So what day is that?
This is the 25th day of the 9th month. That's September.
It's the 5th day of
September the 9th month to us.
yeah. Okay.
That ain't the 9th month to us.
Okay. Well, go ahead, tell me what I'm wrong with.
Go ahead, Navia.
It's the 25th day of the 9th month, but it's 42 for Hebrew calendar, which is based on the moon. Right. Not the calendar we have, which is based on
April, May, June, July, August, September. That'd be the 6 months.
7, yeah.
Oh,
This is going more to the winter time.
Okay.
This is a feast that we keep. We actually kept it this past week.
Okay.
So won't that be feast of the first fruit?
Not the feast of the first fruit. We're keeping that next week. It's what it says.
Dedication of the altar.
The rededication of the altar.
Okay, that's what that is.
That's okay. What we read right now today?
Right, because that's what it says in between, so that's why.
We got to know what's going on.
Okay, what high holy day we read right now?
We just said it, the
Rededication of the altar.
All right.
It's also called Hanukkah.
Oh, that's not.
Oh, okay.
That's actually the word of connection. Because Hanukkah in Hebrew means dedication.
Okay.
They're the same.
Okay.
But contrary to how they see it in the Jewish teaching, it's not a feast of light, like they said.
Well, we better before, but we forgot.
Right? They say it's a feast of light where the candle is burning. Right? And they said the candle is burning forever and it was a miracle that the candle was burning. So that's fallacy. That's not true. It was us fighting to get rid of heathen who destroy our temple, and we rebuild the temple. We dedicate it to the Most High.
And where you say they get this candle that was burning from?
Now they said in the rededication of the temple, there wasn't enough oil, but for somehow some miracle happened where they had oil for 7 days or 8 days, burning, and by some miracle the candles were burning. So that's their rationale behind what they call it Hanukkah. But to us, we already know what it's about. It's about us. We dedicate the temple to the Lord that was destroyed by the heathen. Nabia.
It shows you the confusion because when they set up the menorah, the candlestick, they make it with 9 branches.
Nine candlesticks.
It's supposed to be based on how many days we're in the feast. But reading the law, the candlestick never had 9 branches. It always had 7.
There's 7. Everything is 7.
Exactly. And the holy day is about
7 holy days, 7 sales, 7 everything.
right. And the high holy day we're celebrating is what? Rededicating of the altar itself. So if anything, if you want to have an icon for Hanukkah, they always show the menorah with 9 candlesticks, but really you should have a picture of the altar itself.
Okay. Right.
That's what it's about, really. It shows there's confusion in the beginning.
They've always been tested. They got it out of the it's not what they worship about
Since we are a festive nation, we like to feast. We like to go to even in the Christian churches. And that's what dominates the Christian church, the music, the sound, and even now we got gospel music, right? So we like these kind of things, and to see this thing came back after it was destroyed, the people were very emotional, right? They had all kinds of songs playing, but all in righteousness, right? So this was fighting to keep our social gathering and also righteous dedication to the Most High. So all values must be defended. And that's exactly what those men did. Defending our values, what we stand for, right? Our culture, our laws, right? And these things worth dying for. And that's what Lysias saw. He saw that these men, it's either they stay alive or they dead, or they die for what they believe in. And against such determination, coupled with the power of the Most High, we cannot be defeated. And that's why, again, Esau gonna have a hard time win against the Arabs. It's gonna be hard to win against those people.
when the time comes.
Fun. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
We've been subduing America mainly because it's not the time, and the Most High don't want us to glory the fighting. The last fight that's gonna have, it's not gonna be Judas Maccabees. It's gonna be Christ. So last, save the best for last.
Yeah.
So at that point, Yahushua will be the general of the army. Just like Judas was fighting, right? In the last fight, it's gonna be for Yahushua. Right. So that's why right now we've been subdued to not revolt. But we know if we stood to fight just like Judas fight, right? The Most High will get us out of America if we were to do the same thing that Judas was doing. But the key is we gotta wait for Yahushua. He's the general that's gonna lead the last fight.
War right now, brother.
Right.
Put up in the precinct.
Right. So that's why we gotta just chill out. Even though we know the law, we see what Judas did. We cannot one day rise up and say, I'm gonna do what Judas Maccabees did. Knowing the sign of the time and understand what the plan is, we just chill out. We lay back. Go on. Go on. So now we in verse 55. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the power of heaven, who had given them good success. So now that's success, right? Success is relative, depending on what kind of people you're talking to. In the world, success is having a nice big bank account, right? Having nice house with servants, right? And having 3-4 cars you can flaunt. This is success. So now this right here is speaking about, again, not to say that these things are not good. That's not what we're saying. But to a righteous man, success is see that your culture, your principles, things that you fight for, they are intact. All these other things have no choice but to follow once that is intact. Right. Once that's intact, all the other things, because everything was created for us. Right? Everything that we see that we desire to have that we don't have now, they all were created for us. But we cannot have them until we in the right mindset, so that we know how to properly manage and keep them. Right? Whereas these things are not taking us over, the thing is we take over these things as opposed to these things take us over. Right? So now it says, then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the power of heaven, who has given them good success. So now that's good success, because what we stood for is now reestablished. Right? Because sometimes we look at, let's get an example. We look at other people in the world that have what we just mentioned as far as resources. We said, man, these people are living good. But if they had to tell you, sometimes they have to have security all the time. Sometimes some of those kids, they don't live life. They don't grow up like kids. So, outside and play just like, you can go outside and play. Security all over the place all the time. Yeah, they can have food when they hungry. They can have food at their disposal. That's not a problem, right? When a new gadget come out, a new Xbox come out, they can have it in a heartbeat. But the key is, can they go out and enjoy nature, breathe the same air the way you breathe in the air, without being encaged in big mansion where they don't enjoy childhood, right? And usually, even nowadays, the lifestyle, because quality of life is not in what you have, it's how you breathe, right? And your environment, right? The people that you associate with. This all involving quality of life, right? For example, nowadays, kids are not enjoying quality of life the way they should. They sit in front of the TV and play on the computer. Eat chicken wing, five rice, and drink Coke, and then they getting sick as they sitting, without proper exercise, walking around and interacting with people to build their mind and stuff like that. They stick in that computer to the point where now adult burying kids, where it's supposed to be the other way around, right? The kids supposed to bury their parents in old age.
Happened in front of my mom too. He was young too, in the early 30s. Had like advanced form of diabetes.
Right.
So,
Fine. So quality of life has to do with all of that. In verse 56, it says, and so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offering with gladness, the sacrifice of deliverance and praise, right? So this was the day of our Thanksgiving, right? When we dedicate the temple for the Most High. In verse 57, they decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shield in the gate, in the chambers they renew, and hang doors upon them. See, now they were doing these things without any problem. The gold wasn't anything to them. They decked their front of the stuff with gold. That's, possession. That's material stuff, which is good, right? But they do it in a different mindset. Verse 58. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days from the 25th day of the month Caslu with myrrh and gladness. So this is the time of rejoice when it comes to that time. So that's why every year we should put self in the position where, as that day is approaching, right, that season is approaching, it's a season of gladness, to make sure that we start to clear our head, from problem, from different issues, so that we can put ourselves in a mindset of gladness, just as it was instituted from the beginning, and that at that time. Verse 60. At that time also, they built up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentile should come and tread it down as they had done before. So prevention, right? So you got to prevent and have things put in motion so that we don't get caught by surprise. In case the heathen want to come and do an attack, we think ahead and build a high wall so that we can be protected.
That was good thinking. That was very good thinking. I'm thinking about that just in case.
Good. So proper protection. So the Most High is protecting us,
Right.
but the little things that we can do, right, to protect ourselves firsthand, we should.
Right.
We know ultimately against things that we cannot control, the Most High will intervene.
Yeah.
But stuff that is in our control, we should pretty much take the step to do, and that's exactly what Judas did. Gone. Otherwise, Judas wouldn't demonstrate his leadership in application if he did not put all these things. Because sometimes people sit down and say, "Oh, the Most High is gonna do this, the Most High is gonna do that," without taking any step, any action.
Right.
Right? So you got to take the step. Then, whenever things jam up, the Most High will come through and deliver you. But we got to take the proper steps that are in our control. Verse 61. And they set their garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethshura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. So we always been, and we always been a target when it comes to what we stand for.
Right.
Right? It's the same thing that America stand for. They stand for what they believe in. Right? They go out there and they infiltrate other countries and have those countries buy into their doctrine. So we have our own doctrine, right? That's always been peculiar from the other nation. So some of those people, they can't stand it, right? They can't stand us have a different doctrine from what they believe in.
Right. They're jealous.
Gun.
They believe that theirs, and we know ours is strong, so we deal with the Bible.
Gun. But then if you not follow the crowd, sometimes people feel offended. You know, what you think you're better than me, or your laws is better than our laws. And America's supposed to be, you know, the country of freedom, do as you please.
Not our laws, the most high laws.
Gun. So the culture, lifestyle, and mentality was defended by Judas, which gave us the Feast of Dedication, which we have now as a day that we kept all throughout our generation. All right, so that's the concluded chapter 4. And then on chapter 5 is gonna come next. And chapter 5 is pretty lengthy. I'm gonna go into it swiftly the next time, after the break. So right now is 1:04, where we convene in at 1:35. All right, for the second half. Con.
Done.
All right, so I'll see you guys, brothers and sisters, in a little bit. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Deuteronomy 20.
Turn off all the way.
No, I got it. I said, that came after that. Before the first step.
I didn't walk in about 2 minutes for you.
Oh, okay. How about you? Wait, it started off. What, so, that's when the first precept started?
Yeah.
Okay, so we went to 7. What was the precept?